Big sister. Big sister. I heard a scream so intense I thought my throat would be cut, and I turned to look. It was dusk, and everyone was watching from a distance as the sky turned red from the flames. My big sister is still inside. My legs are bad, so I can't move quickly. Big sister, someone, help me. Big sister, God, someone. Are you kidding me? The sun had already set quite a bit. I don't think I can go any further than the entrance. Saying that briefly, I took out a plastic bottle and poured it over my whole body. I really didn't want to just watch someone die in front of me. Huh? The woman who had been screaming behind me earlier sounded tired today. I thought, if only she had come closer to the exit, and ran into the house. I could see the woman lying on the ground in the smoke, but I desperately tried to rescue her. I quickly helped her up, trying not to inhale the smoke, and handed her to the ambulance that had just arrived. The paramedics told me to go to the hospital, but I had to get back to work. I refused, saying I was fine, and looked for her. The place I had just jumped into the house had caught fire while rescuing a woman. I had gotten too close in my desperate attempt to help her. I couldn't find my bag. I turned pale. Inside the bag was the contract that had just been signed today. I stood there in a daze. My face still stings from being so close to the fire, but I didn't care. It's no use. I muttered. What should I tell everyone? I didn't know how to apologize to them so they would forgive me. The sound of the siren had stopped ringing in my ears. I just stared blankly at the red light flashing. I could clearly see how my benefactor felt about doing business with us. The client's representative said this dryly to me when I went to apologize. It was rude. I explained the situation, but it didn't change the fact that it was our fault. I just bowed my head, but I couldn't convince them. If this contract is cancelled, we won't be able to get back the amount they gave us. I somehow managed to beg her to sign another contract, but she wouldn't let me. A few months later, our company ended up filing for bankruptcy. I couldn't repay my colleagues who had stuck with me until the end. I ended up shutting down the company that I had desperately run for several years since I started it. All of my employees left without saying a word. I think it was a pathetic end. Are you sure you're okay? I asked my then fiancé many times. When she decided to marry me, I was a businessman with a lot of income. But now I've been abandoned by many things. Of course, my feelings for her haven't changed. I've broken my own will, to be honest. But the situation has changed. I don't want her to be unhappy because she's with me. I really mean it. That's why I asked her many times. I wasn't, but maybe I was a little worried. Kazu said to me, "It's okay, I have a job too." I didn't fall in love with Yutaka because he was originally a company president. He's a good-natured, patient, and hardworking person. But even so, I still like Yutaka because he's a good person. I don't think this is the right choice. Quote, it was unfortunate, but we can always try again. I was on the verge of tears as I hugged Ka. Where did my slow body get this strength? I'm glad she was there. I was truly grateful. This happened on the day of the wedding. The members of my previous company who were originally scheduled to attend were absent. The sky was conspicuous, and the scene at the wedding hall was a disaster. I cursed myself for having predicted something like this. As I passed by the waiting room for my father and relatives, I couldn't help but ask. It's not too late now. I should have cancelled it after all. My chest was aching. No wonder. I had asked Kane many times myself. But when a third party said it, it had a different weight and hit me hard. I took a deep breath and desperately held it in. I couldn't make Kai a happy bride. My eyes were filled with heat and tears from my own patheticness, and then I could hear the roar of a motorcycle in the distance. The roar gradually grew louder and approached the small chapel slightly outside. Wondering what it was, I peered out the window. Then a bunch of motorbikes stopped at the wedding hall. I tilted my head, wondering what was going on. One of the men walked towards me. He wasn't wearing a helmet, and he didn't seem violent. When he got to me, he said, "Thank you for helping my fiancé." The hall was in chaos for a while, but luckily we were the only ones getting married that day, so we were forgiven for the time being. When I talked to the man on the motorbike, it seemed like he was also an entrepreneur. When I heard the name of his company, I was surprised to see it in advertisements a lot recently. I felt a little envious, but he thanked me sincerely, so I told him that it was just the kind of thing a person should do, even though it was a cliched line. Then he said, "I want to work with someone like you," which surprised me. He seemed to be thinking about how to thank me. And as he looked into it, he found out that my company was going through bankruptcy proceedings. I was confused when he said, "Let's help," when I heard a voice from behind me say, "Let's do it." I turned around in surprise, and there were my colleagues from the company I had ruined. "Let's start over. One more time. We still trust the president." That's what he said. The motorcycle entrepreneur was called Hakazaki. He contacted our staff, got to know our company and the management situation, and apparently did some groundwork for our staff who had fallen apart. Our staff also believed in me, saying that if I were to abandon people at the casino, I wouldn't be the president. "I'm sorry I'm late." He said he had something he absolutely had to bring today, and I wondered what it was, when it turned out to be a letter from Yuji from the bank. "Let's do it again. It'll be a joint venture with me though." Quote. I couldn't stand it anymore and started crying when my former subordinate said that and laughed like he was biting his tongue. Get a grip. The president believed in everyone and said he would take responsibility, so we were able to keep going even after the company went out of business. Even our partner companies stepped in, so it was like the power of 100 people. The president is amazing, after all. Even though we caused trouble for everyone with the management difficulties, he said such warm words to me. I thought there was nothing more I could be grateful for. In stark contrast to the wedding, the festival was very lively. There weren't enough seats or food for everyone, but everyone congratulated us. Kazu was happy. He whispered happily, saying that he realized once again that his husband was someone who had so many people congratulating him. He's not that kind of person. I'm just lucky to have been blessed with people. I have people who care about me, who believe in me, and who support me. It may sound silly, but I'm really glad I met everyone. I'm just grateful for the encounters. Kazu told me that he was happy. In the end, I ended up crying again. After the wedding, things were so busy and hectic that it was overwhelming. Even though we were newlyweds, I couldn't do anything around the house, and I ended up leaving most of it to Connie. I'll never be able to look Connie in the eye again. The jointly managed company is off to a good start and is stable now. Some of the members from back then have started their own businesses or are still with the company, and I'm proud of them for fighting alongside me. The day before, at Hakazaki-san's wedding, I said, "Thank you for that time." The fiancé I helped at the time is now a beautiful bride. I'm here today because you helped me back then. Quote. When the couple bowed their heads and said that, I felt more embarrassed. But I'm really glad I helped her. I think people should live as long as possible. I was so glad that the two of them, who were such a close couple, weren't torn apart by the accident. When I got home, Toko was waiting for me. She wanted to see the photos, so I showed her the wedding photos and she was happy. It seems that it's been hard for her to go out these days, so she's really enjoying the events. When I showed her the photos, she said, "Oh, it moved." There was a new life growing in her big belly. The two of them talked about how much they were looking forward to it. What kind of child should we raise? No, as long as the baby is born healthy, that's all that matters. They talked excitedly about the future. I'm so happy, Kazu said, rubbing his belly. That's exactly right. At the time of the wedding, I caused a lot of worry, especially from our relatives, but now they tell me that they're glad it's Tomoyo. That's not true. I'm the one who's glad I'm Kazu. I'm really glad that you cared for me. I want to spend my whole life proving that feeling. I will never forget the day my child was born to my beloved wife who has never left my side. I was at work, but I couldn't sit still and was getting restless, so all the employees told me to go and see her. When I arrived at the hospital, the baby had already been born. It was a boy. Thank you for being born safely. I was filled with such feelings. What a precious life. I will love and nurture this little life sleeping in my arms with all my heart. From that day on, that was added to my life goals. It's been about half a year. When I received the announcement of my wife's name, I felt calm. I thought that was how it was. It's okay. My son is already an adult, so there's no need to worry. I'm a little worried about Ka, but he's dozens of times stronger than me, so he'll be fine. The company I handed over to my subordinate is also doing well. But he's a coward, so I'm a little worried about that. I wondered if I could make such a big decision. I didn't want to go home and talk to him. Oh my, well, I'll go soon too. You're an idiot. No, take your time. I told him I would wait over there making some soba noodles, but if he could also clean up the soba making tools, I would give him 100 points. He said meanly, hone your skills. My wife is always strict. After a few days in the hospital, I felt good and went for a walk for the first time in a while. Even walking a short distance made me tired, but I thought it wasn't so bad that I could walk on my own until the end, so I went back to my hospital room and was sleeping in bed when suddenly everyone around me started to get noisy. First came my grown-up son, then my friends, and finally Kazu. I wanted to express my gratitude, but I couldn't bring myself to speak. Kazu said, "I love you. Take care, just like when we were newlyweds." I thought, stop it, don't say it in front of everyone, but I thought, it's the last time, so it's okay, and I squeezed his hand back. I felt tears falling on my hand. I'm so happy. The words that Ka used to say to me next to me welled up inside me. As the sun began to set and the sound of the machines gradually slowed down, I moved my mouth to say, "Thank you."